Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, bear with me. It was a long day at the office. I'll be with you momentarily. There we go. You know what? Restore the damn pages. See if this works. Had to get out of Chrome there for a second. You know what? Let's just. You know what? We're just gonna get this damn thing started. Screw the countdown. Screw the timer. Screw all that shit. We're just gonna get rolling. I don't have Twidger up and running, so we're going to mute our. Oh, there's Pi once again. We're gonna mute that too. Bye. Instead, we're going to have we're going to turn back on the counter and the giveaway. Yeah, there it is. Have that running. Uh, and sub today. Don't forget to sub today. There we go. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, welcome to the Wednesday night installment of the Old Humble Distilling Company's Whiskey Happy Hour. If you were watching this afternoon, you know that I had a very long day at the distillery today. Um, hmm, YouTube is asking me to verify that it's me again. YouTube is being weird all of a sudden today. I don't know why you'd be asking me this, YouTube. Why are you asking me this? Problematic is what it is. Well, you know what? We're not going to do this. We're going to turn you off. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, what the hell are we doing tonight? Cheers, salutations. I am the old humble guy, your friendly neighborhood sin merchant. It's a whole lot of nonsense. I'm not going to do that shit. Google was asking me to do dumb stuff. We're not going to do that. Not tonight. Not tonight, Google. Some other night, but not tonight. Not tonight. What are we doing tonight? What are we doing tonight? Last week we were talking about the marvel of pie. Tonight we are talking about how pie proves the earth go round. I am your friendly neighborhood sin merchant. Tonight is Wednesday night. Tonight is the night where whiskey and science meet philosophy, and or whiskey meets science and philosophy. Yeah, that's what it is. Whiskey meets science and philosophy, and a little bit of nature and literature and some other stuff too, probably. Uh, but tonight is all about the extension of our discussion on the marvels of pie. I haven't even taken the keys out of my damn pocket from the distillery this afternoon. Oh, goodness. But first, some housekeeping. Next week's Monday, typically we do our Quest for 100,000 Views update show. Monday is when we do those shows, and next Monday we're not going to do one of those shows. I'm going to put it off for a couple of weeks. See if we can get some results in for the month of April. Some more informative, detailed data uh, for the month of April, because I'm pretty much carrying March forward into April. And April is going to be kind of the confirmation that what I was doing the last couple of months is working, and then working on a strategy to carry it forward. So we're just going to put it off for a few days. Put it off for a couple of weeks. We'll do our next 100,000 episode or 100,000 views episode in May. Tuesday next week, Ukraine update. I might put that one off too. I don't know. Wednesday, I don't know what we're doing Wednesday next week. Tomorrow is Thursday. Thursday, we're doing trivia as always. We're making a return to our classic trivia game. Mr. Great Shot, cheers. Welcome to. Uh, yeah, gin was cleared. Yeah, we got the gin done today. If y'all were watching this afternoon, Day in the Life episode where we were bottling whiskey and distilling gin. We were running our still for our little baby still for the first time in quite a while, because we had a busted piece of equipment that wasn't working. And I finally got that piece of equipment replaced, but we were making gin today. Um, and we got a good run of gin going. Nice, good, solid run. Even showed. Uh, Fast forward to the last like 5 or 10 minutes. You see the last little bits of the distillate going into the carboy, and you can see what I was talking about with the filmy drops going in, with the oily, filmy stuff going into the pot. I find it interesting. I find it fascinating. Of course, it's what I do for a living. So go check that out. Tomorrow's trivia. Friday, we have crawfish cocktails and Kimbros. The Kimbros are playing at the distillery. You can see that show live. Probably 6:45 is when I'm going to start the stream. Music should be starting around 7. Maybe we might have enough time with the 15 minutes to talk to our crawfish guy, who is a character all in of himself. Our merch vendor, who is the one and only dude, the dude who tagged the Be Someone graffiti on the railroad trestle here in Houston. And of course, the Kimbros, who are a father son duo, Texas folk band, Texas folk rock, Texas country. I don't know how you describe these guys. They're really good, really fun to listen to. They're going to be on tomorrow night or Friday night. And then I will very likely take a very much needed break on Saturday. Um, and then Sunday jump right back into it and start distilling some more. But I don't know if I'm going to do another Day in the Life show with what we did today, because I mean, it was a really long stream for one, because it's like a 12-hour day. When I go in there and I start distilling, it's like a 12-hour day. It is a long day, and it is a long stream if I started at like noon. But we'll see. If y'all want to see more, drop it into comments, drop it into the community tab. Let me know. I don't know. I'm down. I'm always down to check it out. Comment on the last one, uh, and we will go from there. But tonight is Whiskey Wednesday night. Um, Old Humble Whiskey Happy Hour Wednesday night. Wednesday night where philosophy and science meet whiskey. I am your spirit guide, as always. And last week we were talking about pie, and it was a kind of a throwaway comment that I made, and I do this. I have these little throwaway comments, and I come back and revisit them after a while, and I start thinking about it, especially when I rewatch the show. I made the comment last week that uh, we know because of the constant, because pi is a constant, because the consistency of pi and the regularity of pi, we know when we take c and divide by d, circumference divided by diameter, we always know when we divide circumference by diameter, we always get pi. And if the result is not 3.141, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then we did something wrong in the division process. We did something wrong in the calculation, in the measurement process of either circumference or diameter. Um, we know this. We know we did something wrong because pi is always pi. We don't live in a magical world where if we make the calculation and it's wrong and it's something, it comes up with something different, like 9, that we could be like, oh, well, a wizard did that, or this time it's different, or usually it's like that, but this time it's different. We know what it's supposed to be. So we know if we get the wrong answer, then we know that we did something wrong. It's not that complicated to make these determinations and figure this shit out. We can, it's one thing when you drive. I drive my electric car or whatever, and or my hybrid, and I get really good gas mileage one time and really bad gas mileage the other time. There's variables involved. Uh, Amount of stuff that I have in the car, the wind, the temperature, whatever it is, the speed that I'm going. There's all kinds of other variables that go into making the gas mileage happen, but not with pi. Pi is there are no variables. C divided by D is always 3.14159. Always, 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 always. So, old humble guy, what's the fucking point? Get to the fucking point, you fucking moron. I'll get to the point. All right. There are a few things in life like that. I mean, there's a lot of things, but there are a few things in life that are, where you can reliably say that you did it wrong. You should have gotten this outcome. I was telling a story earlier today that when I wired up, I lived in an old house. We had a burned up electrical switch. I took the switch out, unscrewed the wires going into the switch, tossed out the old switch, grabbed the new switch, put the wires into the new switch, screwed it in, flipped the breaker. And the breaker went sparked out, and my lovely wife. I didn't flip the breaker. I'm smarter than that. And and I was confused because it was an old house with aluminum wiring, and I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I need to call an I called an electrician for a light switch. Mostly because I was spooked about the aluminum wire. I was thinking there's something else need to be done that I wasn't doing. Something I was overlooking. Something. Guy comes in and I tell him his name was Buddy. Actually, like Buddy. He's from his name. I'll never forget. His name was Buddy. He was from College Station. Buddy from College Station. I said I removed the old plug, took the new plug, took the wires from the old plug, plugged into the new plug, same way they were removed from it. He's like, "Are you sure about that?" I'm like, "I'm 100% certain about that." He said, "What happened when you flipped the switch?" I said, "Blue spark came out of the breaker box. Flip the breaker." He said, "Okay. Well, I can tell you, you didn't wire it back the way you had the other one wired." Like, well, no, I did. I absolutely did. I wired it back this exact same way. He's like, "No, you didn't, because when the old switch was in there, did the blue spark escape from the breaker box?" I said, "No." He's like, "Well, there you go. You did it wrong, or something magical happened in the day." And that's just the thing. We don't live in a world of magic. There's not some magician or sorcerer or whatever living in our freaking breaker boxes that we have to appease when we flip switches and turn on lights and turn on breakers or light switches or plug in lamps or whatever. We don't have to appease sorcerers. We don't live in that world. We live in a world that is regulated by normal shit, normal stuff that we know what's going to happen. I mean, there's some things that are art, but most things are not. Most things, if you poke the snake bites. If you poke the bear bites. If you step in front of the car hits you. Most things are pretty solid. You could expect this shit. Pi is one of those things. Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Because if the Earth was pancake flat, then we know the circumference of the world all the way down to the southern pole. As it is, we know the circumference of the Earth at the southern pole is 0 because it's a pole. It's a point on the other end of the Earth, the same way that the circumference of the Earth at the North Pole is 0. We know the circumference of the Earth at the equator. We know these things. How do we know these things? Well, they were measured in the BC, 400 BC. Ecclesiastes or something like that. What was the dude's name? Agriges? What was the dude's name? This is all the pie stuff. Yeah, I have notes. I take notes on shit. Aristophanes, that's who it was. All right, so here's the deal. We know, hi Vanessa Kitty. I'm just getting into the meat of things. We know, like it was said. I've heard this said several times, but I've heard it said recently that there's no flight paths in the southern hemisphere. Planes do not fly east-west in the southern hemisphere. Well, let's just entertain that thought for a minute. Why would planes not fly east-west in the southern hemisphere? Well, obviously, it's because the southern hemisphere is so big. How big is it? Why, I'm glad you asked. There's only two things bigger than the circumference of the globe in the southern hemisphere. One's your mom's butt. The other is your butt. I'm just kidding. Let's take, for example, flights from Buenos Aires, Perth. Let's go from Perth. Flights from Perth, Australia to Johannesburg. There's no flights from Perth, Australia to Johannesburg because the distance between Perth and Johannesburg is, what's the number? It is approximately 12,918 miles. And that's based on, and hear me out here, it is based on knowing the distance between the North Pole and Johannesburg, which is 9,822 miles, and the distance between the North Pole and Perth, which is 8,392 miles. You know, because it's from the North Pole down, like it radiates out like that, right? Little spider webs. And it just so happens that they're roughly 90 degrees apart, like almost at a right angle, which means we can calculate the circle that would be, let's just assume they're about the same distance, right? Let's just assume, let's just knock that back from 9,800. Let's just make it about the same. Because they're roughly at about the same latitude. Johannesburg is at 26. Perth is at 26. So they're about the same. They're about the same latitude. They're not exactly perfect, but they're really close. So you take the circumference of a circle with that radius, and then you divide it by 4, and you get about 12,918 miles. Well, here's the thing: the longest flight range for any long haul flight, any plane, is only about 9,700 miles. So obviously, planes can't fly from Perth to. Is that right? Did I make the right number? Obviously, they can't fly. No, Perth is at 31 degrees south. I'm sorry. Johannesburg is at, uh, where's Johannesburg? 26. Perth is at 31. So it's a little bit further south. So obviously, and you know, obviously also they're not going to fly along the they're not going to fly along the outer edge. They're going to take the shortcut right across, right? And here's the really cool thing: we know how to calculate the hypotenuse of a triangle, of a right triangle, and it's roughly a right triangle because it's like 87 degrees. So let's call it a right triangle. That was the 12,000. That's 12,918 miles. So it's a little bit further going along the little outside circumference route. But if you go directly straight between Johannesburg and Perth, you know, it's the hypotenuse of a right triangle. And we know that number, it's 12, it's constant. It's one of those constants. You know, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And if you take a squared, which is 98,000 or 9822, and b squared, which is 8392, and you add them, you square them together, you get 166,800 or 166,897,348. You can do the math yourself if you want to. And then you take the square root of that, and you get 12,918. That is the direct flight route along the edge of the hypotenuse of the distance between uh, 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 Perth and Johannesburg, which is why there's no flight paths. Obviously, here's the problem: there are direct flight paths between Johannesburg and Perth. There are. That's the problem. The problem is not that they're so far apart. The problem is that there actually are flights that go from Johannesburg to Perth. There's flights that go from Johannesburg to Sao Paulo. There are flights that go from Johannesburg to Buenos Aires. So, obviously, something with this calculation is wrong. It's either not 12,000 miles between those two cities. Planes actually can go further than 9,000 miles. One of those two things is true. Spoiler alert, it's not 12,000 miles between those cities. How do we know this? We know this because, what was that? What did I write down there? Oh, the distance the distance on the circle is 14,000 miles. By the way, we know how far they are apart. We know this because people have traveled between Johannesburg and Perth. Um, where did I write down that number at? North Pole to Johannesburg. We know that the distance between those cities is, I didn't write the damn number down. We know that the distance is, I have it on my phone. I didn't write it down because I was at work today. Look it up. It's easy to find. Distance, like I'll Google it. Distance from Johannesburg to Perth. Nope, that's Cape Town. Perth. Perth. Australia. The distance is, oh, see, there's no route because it's over water. Hang on. Now, of course, we could just say, because Google's lying. Sweet summer child. Everybody's always lying to you. To Perth. See, we know this because a straight line distance from Johannesburg to Perth is 8,309 miles. See that? 83, wait, yeah, miles. Nope, that's kilometers. 8,309 kilometers. And if we convert kilometers to miles, km to m, 8,000, what was it? What did I say? 8,329? That sounds about right. We said 8,309 is 5,175 miles. 5,175 miles is remarkably less than remarkably less than the 9,700 miles that it takes that the longest long haul flight can fly. Ergo, it is perfectly plausible for flights to go between Johannesburg and Perth. Do they? Yes, they do. How do we know this? You can literally book a flight from Johannesburg to Perth on the internet. You can literally do that. All you have to do is go to like TripAdvisor or Orbitz or whomever. Just, it's not that hard to find this stuff out. It is not that complicated. It is extremely complicated. In fact, here's something else we know. The distance between Brownsville, Texas, and Algiers, Algeria, is about 5,000. Oops, 5,000. Oops. 5,175 miles. Not exactly, but it's pretty damn close. Brownsville and Algeria, are at roughly the same latitude as Johannesburg and Perth. How could that possibly be? How could it possibly be that two cities at roughly the same latitude at 30-ish degrees, I'm sorry, Houston and Algiers. How could it be that two cities at 30 something degrees latitude north would be the same distance away from two cities that are 30 something, that are 30 degrees latitude south, when the southern hemisphere just splays out like that on a flat pizza? Well, this is how you know, because the Earth is not a flat pizza. Let me move in close so you understand. Earth is not a flat pizza. Doy. 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 All right. We get that under control. But see, we know this because pi. I mean, and it's so rudimentary and basic. Well, not exactly. Jets do not fly in straight lines. They don't fly in straight lines unless the Earth is a pizza. Then they can fly in a straight line. They don't have to fly in great circles because there's no reason to fly in great circles. But jets do fly in great circles over the big giant circles, and mostly in the northern hemisphere. The reason why they fly mostly in the northern hemisphere, come here, moving close to me, that's where all the people live. Like all of them. China, Russia, Europe, North America, they all live in the northern hemisphere. And they all want to go where other people live. That's why there are so many flight paths in the northern goddamn hemisphere. This isn't complicated. This is not even remotely complicated. And this is the reason we know this about, the distance between cities in the northern hemisphere and the distance between cities in the southern hemisphere is because of pi. We know the distance between the cities. We know the circumference of the Earth at these various latitudes. As we go further and further and further north, we know them. We know the distance between the cities. We know the distance between the cities. And if a city in the north is this far apart and a city in the south is also this far apart, then the Earth can't go out like this. Can't. It's impossible. Which is why I said in the title, on the title sequence, on the title page, this is impossible. That design for a planet is impossible. And we know it's impossible just from casual observations of the world around us. From looking at the moon, from looking at the sun, from looking at the stars, looking at the shadows on the earth, looking at the distances between cities, looking at planes flying in between cities. And see, here's the thing. Deep down in my heart, are we getting close to it? We're about halfway. We're good enough. Deep down in my heart, I firmly believe that people who are like, well, the Earth is maybe flat. I don't know. I don't have a satellite. I can't prove. You really think you know more than everybody that thinks the Earth? Yes. From you can stop there. Yes, I think I know more about the geography of the Earth than people who say the Earth is flat. In fact, I know more about the Earth. But I really don't think people think the Earth is flat. I think they think they're being funny. They're not. And I'll explain why they're not in a minute. I think they think they're being clever. They're not. It's not clever. It's dumb. It's like somebody picking up a piece of shit off the ground and going, look, a cheeseburger. And you saying, look, that's not a cheeseburger. That's a piece of dog shit. And then them going, nope, I think it's a cheeseburger. And then they eat it just to prove you wrong. And then you're like, you just ate a piece of dog shit. They're like, nope, it was definitely a cheeseburger. I reject the authority of your reality. I reject the authority of NASA. I've chosen that this is a cheeseburger. And you're like, yeah, but you just ate a piece of shit, man. That's not, you didn't, you didn't prove me wrong. You just made yourself look really dumb. I mean, you can't just, I don't really think that they believe this nonsense. I really don't. I think they think they're being funny. I think they think they're being clever. I think they think they're being authoritative, counter authoritative. Is that the word that I'm looking for? You know what I mean. Well, they're not being any of that. And one of the things I've learned when researching like the origins of this shit, nonsensical bullshit, is once you look at it once, you can't stop looking at it. These fuckers come and find you. And I'm gonna have to clear my history cache again. Um, is meatless burger a burger? uh, I know, right? It's like but they do. They doubt that there's like we have satellites that go from pole to pole to pole to pole. You can't do that if the Earth is flat. Like you can't have a satellite go, it stop and turn around and come back. It stop and turn or go right 90 degrees and go back up over and then turn left 90. You can't do that. That's not physically possible. And it's if we have a pancake flat Earth, which we don't. Again, this is not a debate. It's a discussion, but it's not a debate. I'm not debating whether or not we have a flat Earth. We do not. No math works. No math, no geography, no science, no nothing. We launched we launched people to the goddamn moon based on our understanding and knowledge of the physics of the Earth and the roundness of the Earth. And they landed on the moon and they came back safe and sound, alive. Oh, well, people didn't actually go to the moon. No, they did. You're just being dumb. Contra, what is it? Contra rational? Is it? I think it's contra rational. Is what it is. Contrarian. That's it. They're being contrarians. They think they're being contrarian, and that's just exhausting. People just say no when you say yes, just to be dipshits. Um, you're right. How does gravity function? I wish I could turn on the damn Twidger thing, but I can't. I can't get into it because Google is acting weird, and I don't trust Google right now. I need to clear my history and reload my Chrome, I think. Anyway, but yes, Vanessa Kitty, you are on it 100%. Like, I know that if I drop a ball here and I drop a ball in Egypt and I drop a ball in Sydney, Australia, that it drops to the ground. But in a flat Earth, it doesn't do that. It drops to the side and an angle like that. But that's not how things work. We know this is casual observations from all around the world. You don't have to be, somebody who is, taking notes all the time and fastidiously uh, clocking and checking and managing your sciences and whatnots. You don't have to be that guy. You can just go out there and casually look up and say, "Oh, look, the light on the moon is like this today." So like the sun is obviously like there. And it's a long ways off because it's the sun and it's giant. And we know this. Like all this stuff, we know it. But and here's another thing. The geometry of this dumb model that they've got, like we know that there are planets in between us and the sun. Somewhere we'd have to fit Venus and Mercury in between here and the sun. You can't do that. You just can't do that in that type of model. We know this. These are casual observations. But back to pie. But back to pie. The throwaway realization um, from last week, the kind of throwaway comment was that anytime you calculate pi, it's always the same. And if it's not the same, like for example, when you calculate the distance between Perth and Johannesburg, if you, I mean, we know the distance is like 5,100 miles, but on a flat Earth, on a pancake Earth, that distance has to be something like 12,000 miles because pi, right? Because pi. We know the distance has to be what the distance has to be that. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And if the distance is 5,100 miles, and because pi, then the Earth is much smaller. Those two cities have to be much closer to the North Pole, which makes them much colder. It makes the Earth much smaller than it really is. Like, I don't make up the rules. This is the math. This is how it works. For you to for you to reject all of that, you have to ultimately say that pi is wrong. That's not really the number that it is. You have to ultimately look at the circle and go, nope, that circumference is not 3.14 times the length of the diameter. You have to fully and totally reject reality. And the truth is, reality's pretty. I mean, sometimes it sucks, but generally speaking, it's pretty awesome. We have skies of blue and clouds of white, and I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go into the song, but we have some remarkable things in reality that we can appreciate. Now, they have a lot of shit things in reality too, like genocide and chemical warfare and stuff like that that's happening right now in Ukraine. But we also have some really awesome stuff, like platinum award-winning gin and delicious whiskeys and you know all kinds of really cool stuff. Vanessa, I am seeing your chat. Don't worry. Uh, Fort Worth is 1,820 miles from here. Where is here? Uh, you've seen flat earthers in math courses, foundations of logic classes, burn more brains than most math classes. The foundation of logics classes, those are critical classes for people to have. I don't know how people's brains turned to mush so much over the last 3 years, but they clearly have. Space times geometry have been proven time and again. Yeah, uh, and see, here's the thing. It's one thing to say this is a thing that's happened that I don't understand. This is a thing that's happening and I don't know why. But it's a whole nother thing to say this is a thing that's happening and I don't understand it. Therefore, magic. Or this is a thing happening and I don't understand it. Therefore, ghosts or sorcery or witches or aliens or whatever. You can tell me all kinds of things that that you've experienced and seen and done, and be like, I don't understand that. And you can be all like, yep, that was my alien abduction story. And I'd be like, yeah, that didn't happen. I'm sure you experienced it. You felt it. You understood it. It was something you did, something you experienced, something that's part of who you are and part of your whole catalog of experiences. But it was not aliens. It was not a ghost. Because those don't exist. Neither does a flat earth. Sorry to be the one to tell you this. Internet. Suck it, I guess. I don't know. You'll get over it. You will. You'll get over it. Somewhere along the line, there's going to be something else. But here's why it's not funny. Here's why it's become kind of a dangerous, stupid little hobby of people who are like, oh, but planes, they never turn. And blah, 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 blah. The algorithm doesn't give a shit that you think you're clever. The algorithm doesn't care that you think you're being funny. The algorithm doesn't care that you think you're going to own smart people by ignoring their reality and whatever. The algorithm thinks you're stupid, it knows you're stupid, and it's going to feed you more bullshit. And because you're stupid, you're going to sit there and you're going to feast on this bullshit that the algorithm feeds you. And the next thing you know, you're down some QAnon stupid rabbit hole thinking that there's babies being harvested in the basement of a pizzeria that doesn't have a basement, and you go and shoot up a high school. The algorithm doesn't care that you think you're being smart. The algorithm doesn't care how smart you think you are. The algorithm knows you're stupid, and you're, well, or at the very least, that you're being stupid. And you can't, it's really hard to be smart, to be a smart person who does stupid things. Because at some point, you do enough stupid things that you convince people that you're not smart. At some point, you do enough stupid things that you convince yourself that you're not smart and you forget how to do smart things. Because all of life is an algorithm, and all of life feeds you stupid things when you do stupid things. They feed you more stupid things to do. That's why, you when you start doing heroin, you get to do more heroin and more heroin and more heroin until eventually you do the dumbest thing and overdose on heroin. Life knows you're dumb too. So quit being dumb. That's what I'm trying to get to, I guess. I'll probably not do another one of these for a long time. That's a lie. These get a lot of engagement. These get a lot of after the fact clicks. For some reason, I know the reason. I'm a whore for clicks, is what I am. But I'm going to make a concerted effort on my own side to avoid doing any more of these flat Earth things for at least a month. At least a month. Because it makes my brain hurt having to try to figure out how to understand how you dumb flat earthers are thinking, because you're not thinking. I'm literally trying to put a round peg in a square hole, and it's not working. You missed my first one. From last week, or the first flat Earth episode. What was the first flat? Oh, the first flat Earth episode was simply uh, the origins of the theory. The origins of the theory, and then the second one was the math, the origins of the flat Earth theory. And I made the throwaway comment in the first one, like, we know the math, we've done the math. Everybody, you can do the math. Everybody's done the math. And then the second one was like, you know what? I should go check out. We should do the math. Let's do the math. Let's actually do the math. And we did the math that confirmed the Earth was a sphere, the size of the sphere, the relative size of the Earth to the moon, the distance of the Earth to the moon, the distance of the Earth to the sun, the distance of the sun to the moon. We did all that math. And then the next one after that was, I think, more math that confirms, or the geometry that confirms the round Earth, I think, because of the way the moon and the sun and, like, I think it was like 5 easily identifiable observations. One of which being when you're at the South Pole, or when you're in the Southern Hemisphere facing south, everybody's facing the same direction. If all around the world, from South America, Australia, and Africa, if you're facing south, you're all facing the same direction, not 60 degrees apart from each other. Euclidean postulate. Okay, that's outside my. Well, no, it's not completely outside my understanding. But I would need you to come on with me in a Zoom meeting so that we could discuss it together, because I believe you would be more adept at discussing it than I understand them, but I can't explain them. I mean, I use them. I use them. I've helped my sons with their geometry and kind of walked down the proof rabbit holes. Copernicus computations and theorem. Oh, I bet so. Holy shit, I'm a nerd. I know what all those words mean, and that actually kind of gets me a little bit exciting. Whose algorithm? The algorithm. The algorithm. The Facebook algorithm. The YouTube algorithm. The Twitter algorithm, the almighty algorithm. That's whose algorithms. It's ultimately it's your algorithm because they're all the algorithm is codified to you and what you search and what you do. Amazon has an algorithm. Target uses an algorithm. They know if you're pregnant before you know if you're pregnant based on what you're you want some comfort foods or moisturizer and they're like, she hasn't ordered lady things for 6 weeks. She must be pregnant. Get her the birth control or the baby stuff. Target knows. Amazon knows. They all know this shit. They know more about us than we know about us because we're liars. We'll lie about what we know about us. They don't. They don't care. The almighty algorithm. It's your algorithm, but it's written by somebody else because they want you to do what they want you to do. They want you to do what they want you to do. Yeah, that makes sense. Whose algorithm? Don't give me that crap. Uh, oh, so you're in Connecticut. I got you. 1,800 miles from Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Do they not believe scientists set out early if light from a star shines earlier than. Yeah, exactly. But they don't. I don't think they understand what those words mean. I don't think they understand any of that stuff. And if they do, I don't think they care. Uh, the fifth postulate and its variations shows us geometry. Oh yeah, that is, and it's there was one postulate that was really really controversial because I can't remember which one it was, but it had something to do with like parallel. I think it had to do with parallel lines, or maybe it was intersecting lines. That I think it had to do with the. I can't remember what it was, but it was a super duper controversial one, and it was a controversial for like years. But we're gonna wrap it. I'm gonna wrap it. Can't use a compass and a map. Yeah. Well, if they could use a compass and a map, I think part of the problem is they've never left their hometown. They've never left their hometown. Because if you leave your hometown, then you know the world outside your borders is very much like the world inside your borders. And it's not a magical, mystical, mysterious place. It is a predictable place. You leave Houston or Windsor Locks, Connecticut, and you go to uh, Denver, Colorado. And yeah, there's mountains there, but it's also it also works the same way that it works here in Houston. It works the same way that it works there in Connecticut. You go to Nebraska, you go to Cancun, you go to British Columbia, Alaska, London, Paris, Nice, Johannesburg, wherever. The world works the same everywhere you go. The people are largely the same. They want the same stuff everywhere you go. And it's not as mysterious when you go there. And then you don't have to make up stupid, mysterious bullshit nonsense that, well, while we're here, the world works like this, but when I go over there, it works differently. Or, I mean, granted, in the southern hemisphere, the moon is upside down and there's different stars and different constellations. Granted. But you drop a ball, it falls to the earth. Um, it's cold in the summer and hot in the winter. Everything's upside down and backwards in the southern hemisphere. But everything works the same. Everything works the same except toilets. Okay, it's a really bad example. But I think part of it is also just assuming that the world as we know it up here on the upper on the northern hemisphere, the upper hemisphere, if you will, is really is identical, not just like physically mechanically the same, but it's just the same. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going, it's just the same. And ultimately, there is an end to it. There's not an end to it. Christopher Columbus knew there was no end to it. Christopher Columbus knew the world was round, and he was a stone cold dumbass. He was a stone cold dummy. He just rejected that the earth was as big as they said it was and thought it was 60% smaller or 30% smaller. He was a stone cold dumbass. He died not realizing he never made it to Asia. And he was a genocidal, murdering piece of shit on top of that. But even he knew the world was round as a stone cold dummy. He knew the world was round. I mean, come on. You can prove anything from a false statement, but it still doesn't make much. Well, yeah. Um, I am remembering correctly. Yes, the fifth postulate about parallel lines. Uh, yeah, yeah, very controversial postulate, as I recall. But maybe that would be a good Euclidean's postulates. Maybe that would be a very good topic specifically for a Wednesday night whiskey meets science and philosophy, because that is also very much philosophical, because the postulates describe things which can't be seen or known. They're fully imaginary and apply to real world. Versus the flat earth bullshit, which is fully imaginary and applies to nothing. It's just 100% made up. Anyway, guys, this has been fun. Vanessa, this has been fun. This was kind of an addendum to last week. I wanted to get this done. I wanted to get it off my chest. I could carry on this conversation, but to be completely honest, I'm exhausted. I've been on my feet all damn day. Uh, Check it out. The distillation run from a day in the life. We did a bunch of stuff. My puppy dog was with me today. Hyperbolic spheres. Yep, those vessels were small. um, yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's very okay to have an open mind, but if your mind is too open, any kind of shit can fall into it. Even trash cans have lids. So guard your mind, guard your brain, think with the whole brain, love with your whole heart. Thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate that. I really do. Um, this is a little bit. Uh, I don't know if this is the kind of thing that is on the YouTubes very much. This is almost like talk radio type stuff. God, I'm so tired. So tired. I'm having trouble even stringing together thoughts. Um, it's almost like daytime talk radio, but it's not. You know, making up bullshit about alien caravans coming from Guatemala or whatever. Uh, I'm try to have a topic in the conversation and try to stick to it. Uh, Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. I am having serious, like, check this out. Oh, it's gone. I keep having PowerShell windows popping open on my computer. Goodness. Anyway, tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. When we have 550 subscribers, I'll give away a bottle of whiskey. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been real fun. You absolutely should come to visit the distillery. Well, Fort Worth is, so you know, Fort Worth is about 200 miles north of me. I'm in Houston. Fort Worth is by Dallas. That is about a 4-hour trip between the two of us. Just so you know. It's not impossible. It's a fun trip down all the same. Fort Worth is also a beautiful city in and all of itself. The downtown Fort Worth was basically bought by one family, and most of the security force in downtown Fort Worth is uh, maintained by that family to have a security force around their properties, which is most of downtown. Uh, oh, you know all this shit. I thought you. Well, good. Just making sure you weren't just coming from like Connecticut thinking, well, I'll just drive to the other side of the state like they do in Connecticut and being like, holy shit, it's like a 3-day drive. um, oh, Mr. Great Shot's back in the house. Cheers to you, Mr. Great Shot. You came just in time for me to wrap up the show. Um, late this month or early next month, I'll be driving down to Laredo to pick up bottles and fireworks. So we will be doing our 500 subscriber extravaganza, our explosive 500 subscriber show, and hopefully shortly after that, our explosive 600 subscriber show. So I'll need to pick up 2 sets of fireworks of roughly 1,100 shells between the two of them. We'll talk about that another day. I am pooped. Tomorrow night, trivia, 9 p.m. Lisa, the Catwoman, Liddy will be joining us. We will have classic trivia from Trivial Pursuit. Classic Trivial Pursuit trivia. 35 boozy bucks on the line. Next week will be our first week pub trivia. Guys, I'm done. Be awesome to each other. Drink great whiskey. Think with your whole brain. Love with your whole heart. Cheers. See you tomorrow night. Hasta la vista.